All right, hello everybody. Welcome to Fusion, my first ever live stream. So we're going to see how this goes today. I'm keeping everything crossed that it all works out all right. I've already lost the stream once, but it was while we were still doing our waiting game for everything to get set up. So welcome to class. My name's Melissa. This class is a combination of yoga and Pilates and fitness movements. It's a mat-based class, so all you need is your mat. Grab some water. I've got some here as well. I don't know where you're coming in from, but it is hot where I am right now, 30 degrees outside and a beautiful day. So we're just going to go ahead and step up toward the front of our mat. We're going to start with sun salutations from yoga. So stepping up toward the front of your mat, just circling your shoulders down and back, standing up nice and tall, drawing the abdomen in, squeezing those glutes. The hips are stacked right underneath of our shoulders. We're going to inhale, circle to lift the arms up, reaching up nice and tall. As we exhale, just coming back down to our starting position, arms down by our sides. Good, we'll do that again. Inhale, circle to lift. This time, as we exhale, bend those knees, bring the hands down toward the thighs, and let's just ragdoll up one vertebrae at a time. Our head will be the very last thing up. Coming up, 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 nice and tall, and then circling the shoulders down and back. Good. Inhale, circle to lift. As we exhale, bending through those knees, bringing the hands down toward the thighs, feeling that nice stretch through the spine as we come all the way up to that nice tall standing position, curving all the way up, and again, squeezing through those glutes. The hips are right underneath of the shoulders. Inhale, circle to lift, adding on. As we exhale, bend those knees. From here, let's take a modified halfway lift. So we're going to stretch our arms, stretch the legs. Hello, hamstrings. We open up through there. Good. Just release, bending through the knees. Ragdoll up again, through the low back, through the mid back, through the upper back. The head is going to be the last thing up, and then circling those shoulders down and back. Good. Inhale, circle, lift. As we exhale, bend those knees, bringing the hands to the thighs. Taking our modified halfway lift. Inhale, nice flat back position. Exhale, bend the knees here. Now reverse swan dive to come up. This time we're going to inhale, circle sweep, standing up nice and tall. Draw those hips right underneath of the shoulders. As we exhale, this time the hands come down through heart center. Good. Inhale, circle to lift. Exhale, bending those knees, bringing the hands to the thighs. Taking our modified halfway lift, stretching the arms, stretching the legs, squeezing those shoulder blades back and together, finding that nice, perfect flat back position. As we exhale, we're going to walk the hands down along the shins this time, coming into our forward fold. Good. In that forward fold, I'm just checking that the microphone is working. Hopefully everyone can hear me okay. In that forward fold here, that we're in a supported position. The hands are either supported on the shins, on the top of the feet, or down toward the floor, depending on the flexibility range of motion that you have through the backs of the thighs. And then just allow that head to release down and forward. Shaking the head from side to side here, taking any tension out of the neck and the top of the shoulders. The tendency is to push the belly button out toward the thighs. Think about pulling that belly button away from your legs. Good. Take a slight bend in the knees here. Now ragdoll up from this position. Imagine you've got some heavy weights in your hands. So you're curving up one vertebrae at a time, getting that nice stretch through the spine as you come up into that nice tall lifted position right where we started, circling those shoulders down and back. Drawing the belly button in, squeezing through those glutes. Nice. Inhale, circle to lift. This time, exhale, swan dive all the way down into that forward fold. Nice work. Inhale, we're going to come up into our halfway lift. The hands are supported on the shins here. Nice flat back again, squeezing those shoulder blades back and together. Draw that belly button in nice and flat. As we exhale, we come back into that forward fold, supported with the hands on the shins, the tops of the feet, or down toward the floor. Allow that head to hang forward nice and heavy. Take a slight bend in the knees. Now reverse swan dive to come up. We're going to inhale, circle sweep, standing up nice and tall, one big movement. As we exhale, the hands come down through heart center, adding on into the sun salutation. We'll inhale, circle to lift. As we exhale, swan dive, take that flat back forward. Nice. Inhaling up to our halfway lift. Squeeze those shoulder blades together. This time, as we exhale, bend the knees, plant the hands on the floor. The right leg's going to step back into a lunge position. The left foot comes back to meet it. In this plank position here, high plank position, up on our hands. Option 1, the knees come down into contact with the floor. Option 2, we're holding out on our toes. Press the hands into the floor, open up across the upper back. So we're not collapsing into the shoulders here. Find that breadth across the upper back. Draw that belly button up toward the spine. Haha, I'm making you hold in this plank here. Squeeze through those glutes. Continue breathing, using our breath to create some heat within the body, inhaling through the nose. Stay here as you exhale. One more time, inhaling here. As you exhale, drop those knees down to the floor, press back into child's pose. Opening the knees out toward the sides of our mat here. Releasing the hips back down toward the heels. The arms can stretch out in front of us here. Getting a stretch through the back, and you might find that you actually get a bit more stretch rather than having the palms down toward the floor. We can get a bit more stretch through the lats if you want to turn the palms to face together, or even try and turn those palms so they face up toward the ceiling. You can just kind of shift from right to left through your hips here, shifting from side to side. And if you're more comfortable, if you want to take your shoulders out of it, feel free to bend those elbows, bringing the hands under the forehead, or circling those arms down, resting child's pose position. The arms can come right down by our sides and just resting the head on the mat. So whatever works best for you, take any options that you need throughout this class. Always remember to listen to your body. Breathing, taking a big diaphragmatic breath right into the sides of the rib cage. As you inhale, using the rib cage, think of the rib cage like an accordion. So as we inhale, that accordion opens up, filling the lungs all the way up. As we exhale, the ribs come back together. So really picturing that accordion opening up and closing. Option 1, holding here in child's pose. Option 2, working through the second half of the sun salutation. We'll press back out into our high plank from the knees or from the toes, your choice. Chaturanga, or narrow push-up, or triceps push-up. The elbows tuck right in by the sides of our rib cage here, lowering down toward the floor. One movement all the way down. Once you get down there, releasing through the tops of the feet, the hands are under the shoulders, pressing up into a cobra position, or if you'd like, upward dog, weighting into the hands, weighting into the tops of the feet. And we don't extend through the spine anymore. We maintain that low cobra position, but extend through the arms, the fronts of the thighs lift up off of the floor. Good. From here, driving back into downward dog, or taking child's pose again, your choice. It's early in the class. We're going to walk the dog here in this position, alternating from side to side. Right heel, left heel, working down toward the floor here. Notice the feet are about hip width apart. They're in line with our sitting bones in this position. So they're not right together here. They're not as wide as our mat. They're a few inches apart, in line with the very bottom points of the pelvis. The hands are shoulder width apart here. And let's press up onto the tiptoes, both feet at the same time. Lead with the chest. We're working on creating a perfect inverted V in this position. Lead the chest, opening up across the front of the shoulders here. Think about that tailbone lengthening up toward the ceiling as much as you can. Now visualize the tailbone staying where it is. As we exhale, letting the heels sink down toward the floor. Chances are they're not going to get down toward all the way down to the floor. I'm still working on that myself. But you should feel that stretch through the backs of the legs, into the calf, down towards the ankle here, behind the knees. One more breath wherever you are. Inhale. If you're in child's pose, stretching your arms out to the front of the mat if they're not already there. Looking forward on our next exhale, the right foot's going to step forward. The left foot comes up to meet it. We'll inhale up to our halfway lift. Exhale, folding forward. Take a slight bend at the knees, just ragdoll up here, one vertebrae at a time. Our head will be the last thing up. Curving through the spine, curve, 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 all the way up to a nice tall standing position, circling the shoulders down and back. Good. One full sun salutation here. We'll inhale, circle to lift. As we exhale, folding forward. Inhaling up to our halfway lift, finding that nice flat back. As we exhale, bend those knees, plant the hands on the floor. The left foot reaches back first this time. The right foot comes back to meet it. From the knees or from the toes, chaturanga, lowering down to the floor. Tuck those elbows right in by your sides. Pressing through into your cobra or upward dog, your choice. Remember, lots of options. Driving back into downward dog or child's pose. It's early in the class. We'll still continue walking the dog here, shifting from right to left, alternating side to side, or if you'd rather take child's pose, dropping onto the knees, taking the weight of the hips back over the heels. In whichever position you're in, continue with that breathing, inhaling through the nose and exhaling through the nose, using our breath to help create some heat within our body, using it to help us warm everything up. If you're in downward dog, pressing up onto the tiptoes, both feet at the same time, lead with the chest, drive the chest back toward the thighs, lengthening the tailbone up toward the ceiling, and as we exhale, lowering both heels down at the same time. If you're in child's pose, taking any of those arm options that work for you, whatever feels best for your body tonight. Inhaling, big diaphragmatic breath, thinking about the rib cage opening out toward the sides like an accordion opening up. As you exhale, the accordion comes together, looking forward to the hands on that exhale. The left foot is stepping up toward the front of the mat. The right foot comes up to meet it. We'll inhale up to our halfway lift. As we exhale, folding forward. Take a slight bend in the knees, reverse swan dive to come up, circle sweep, we'll lift up nice and tall now, straight away, exhale, swan dive, down and forward. Nice, inhaling up to our halfway lift. Exhale, plant those hands on the floor, the right foot steps back, the left foot comes back from the knees or from the toes, chaturanga, lowering down, pressing through into cobra or upward dog, driving back, downward dog or child's pose, and you can choose whether or not you're walking the dog here or holding in that static position, working on that perfect inverted V. Either way, the hands are shoulder width apart, the feet are hip width apart, the tailbone is lengthening up toward the ceiling, and we've got our ears relaxed. Our ears are positioned. Our ears aren't relaxed. Our ears are positioned right between our biceps. All right, so the head and neck are relaxed. Thinking about pulling up out of the wrist into those stronger shoulder stabilizer muscles, using the muscles around the shoulder to hold us here. If you're walking the dog, press up onto the tiptoes, both feet at the same time. Lead with the chest. Feel that openness across the front of the shoulders. As you exhale, lowering both heels down toward the floor. One more breath here. If you're in child's pose, reaching those arms up toward the front of the mat if you're not already there. Good, and then stepping, the right foot only comes forward. We're planting that right foot forward here. The whole foot is flat on the floor. Transitioning the hands from here up onto the thigh. Moving in a long lunge position. This is a variation of Warrior One. If you'd rather take Warrior One, if you're familiar with that, feel free to do so. Today, I'm just going to stay in this long lunge position. So we're bending into our front right knee. That left knee is extending back behind us. Option 1, the hands stay supported on the thighs here. That will help with your balance. Option 2, we can circle the arms up and lift overhead. Option 3, the gaze can continue up toward the ceiling, or if you happen to be outside, enjoying this beautiful, nice day, looking up toward the sky here. The more we sink into that front right knee, the more challenging this is going to be. So we can modify this by having a shorter stance. That front knee isn't quite as bent. We could make this more intense by shimmying that left foot back behind us. We could actually bring that front thigh all the way down parallel to the floor. It's still early in the class. We're going till 6:30. So whatever works best for you here. Inhale. Stay here as you exhale, or if it's available, sinking a little bit lower, bending into that front right knee. One more breath here. Inhale. Good. As you exhale, windmill those hands down. We're going to drop that back left knee down toward the floor, coming up into a kneeling position. Working on a hip flexor stretch here. So in this hip flexor stretch, we're thinking about pressing that left hip forward, opening through the front of the hip. I'm going to face you here. So that right knee is still forward, pressing that left hip forward. The hands can be on the thigh here for balance again. If you'd like, you might find you get a bit more stretch if you lift that left arm up toward the ceiling. So same arm as back leg. And we might get a bit more stretch if we incorporate a side bend here. So lengthening up out of the waist, lengthening up and over. And then the main thing I want you to focus on here is pressing that left hip down and forward, kind of toward the front edge of the mat, and really focusing on squeezing through that left glute. If you focus on squeezing through that left glute, it's actually going to help the muscle on the front side, the hip flexor, open up on that front side a little bit better. One more breath here. Inhale. As we exhale, we're rotating around, so we're going to turn that left rib cage toward the right thigh. The left elbow is coming to the outside of the right thigh. So we're taking revolving position here. The other hand can come on top, prayer position. Now we can leave that back left knee in contact with the floor, or if you'd like, you can curl those toes under and go back into that long lunge position where we just were. Good. So with this position, we're thinking about creating rotation from the front. It looks like this, long lunge, elbow over, and across. And as we exhale, we're thinking about creating length through the spine and turning that left rib cage toward that front thigh. The eyes can look straight forward in front of you or turn up toward that top shoulder. Nice job. One more breath here. Inhale. As you exhale, come out of that position, stretch that back knee if you're not already there, plant those hands under the shoulders, stepping that right foot back. Good. From here, nice easy transition to the other side. The left foot is just stepping forward. We're going to take that long lunge on this side. When you're ready from here, transition the hands up onto your thigh. Remember, we can make this a little bit easier if we slide that back foot in. We can make this harder if we shimmy that right foot back behind us. So choose a level that works for you. Might be based on where your fitness level is today. It might be based on how you're feeling today. The hands can stay supported on the front thigh, or we can circle and lift them up overhead, or we can continue the gaze up toward the ceiling. We're thinking about bending into that front left knee this time, and the right leg is fully extended. We're thinking about reaching that right heel toward the back edge of our mat. The heel's not going to be all the way down to the floor. I want to be up on the ball of the foot here. Really thinking about reaching that right heel back, 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 back. If the arms are up overhead, try not to let the shoulders creep up with it. We want to slide those shoulders down away from the ears. We've got that nice long neck in this position. And notice that the feet are hip width apart. So we're not one foot behind the other, walking a tightrope, which is going to be really tricky with our balance. That back leg is straight back behind that hip. Holding here, one more breath, inhale. As we exhale, windmill the arms down, dropping that back right knee down to the floor, just adjusting here. And you'll notice we don't need a big wide stance for this hip flexor stretch. Sometimes that can press into the low back a little bit. In this position, squeeze through those glutes, press that right hip forward this time. We can keep those hands on the thigh for support. Or if you want, maybe finding a bit more stretch if you lift that right arm up overhead, and maybe finding a bit more stretch if you want to incorporate that side bend. So what that does here is just helps create length through that muscle. That muscle attaches from the thigh up onto the pelvis and onto the lumbar vertebrae, onto the lower back. So when we incorporate that side bend, it just helps to create a bit more length through those muscle fibers. Keep squeezing through that right glute. As we squeeze through that right glute, it helps stretch the muscle on the front of the hip flexor that we're trying to work here. One more breath here, inhale. As we exhale, moving into that revolving position. So that right arm is circling around. We're turning that right rib cage toward the left thigh. Bring that right elbow to the outside of the thigh, and then the other hand comes on top into prayer position. So we're here, prayer position. Use the leverage of the elbow against the thigh against the elbow to try and press into more rotation. And as we rotate here, we're thinking about lengthening, not curving through our spine. So creating rotation and length. Option 1, that back knee can stay in contact with the floor. Option 2, we take that long lunge position. You can curl those toes under and extend through that back leg. The eyes can look straight forward in front, or turning the chin up toward that top shoulder. Harder to balance if you've brought that back knee off of the floor. So find a level that works for you. The main thing is trying to create rotation in this stretch. So creating length and twisting through the spine. Inhale. As we exhale, come back to the center. Plant your hands nice and strong underneath of the shoulders. Step that left foot back. Good. From here, chaturanga. Tuck those elbows in by the sides, lowering down. Pressing through. Cobra or upward dog. Good. Driving back into downward dog or child's pose. Holding here, working on that perfect inverted V. 3 more breaths in this position. Inhale, big expansive breath, big diaphragmatic breath, filling the lungs all the way up, and then exhaling out through the nose. 2 more. Inhale. Stay here as you exhale. 1 more. Inhaling here. As you exhale, looking forward to the hands, stepping that right foot up toward the front of the mat. The left foot follows. We'll inhale up to our halfway lift. Nice flat back. Exhale, folding forward. Ragdoll all the way up, 1 vertebrae at a time, curving through the spine. Imagine you've got those heavy weights in your hands. Curve, 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 coming all the way up. And then circling those shoulders down and back, standing nice and tall. Good. Inhale, circle to lift. As we exhale, fold forward. Inhaling up to our halfway lift, finding that nice flat back. Excellent job. Exhale, bend those knees, plant the hands on the floor. The left foot steps back, the right foot comes back to meet it. From here, we're holding in our plank position this time. Let's give our wrists a bit of a break. We're dropping down onto the forearms. Option 1, the knees come in contact with the floor. Option 2, you're holding out on your toes. And I lost my timer. So here we go. Holding in this plank position. Option 1, knees on the floor. Option 2, holding out on your toes, trying to create dynamic tension within the body. So what do we mean by that? It means we're not just kind of hanging out here. We're thinking about working our muscles in this position. Gravity's pulling our belly button down toward the floor. So rather than letting the belly button pull down toward the floor, we're using those deep abdominals, transverse abdominis, internal obliques to draw that belly button up toward the spine. Gravity wants to collapse our shoulders down toward the floor. Press the elbows into the floor, fill that space across the upper back. And then feel what happens if you think about pulling your elbows back toward your hips. As you think about pulling your elbows back, they're not going to go anywhere because the floor is there. You're creating tension here. As you think about pulling back, though, that's going to engage through the lats on the side of your body. Are you having fun here yet? We're holding here for 60 seconds. Hang in there. You're almost done. Squeeze the glutes. Think about pulling the inner thighs toward each other. This should feel difficult. We have 10 seconds left. Hang in there. It's 2 slow breaths. Inhale. Stay here as you exhale. One more time. Inhale, deep breath in. As you exhale, lower down to the floor. Let's just press back, child's pose position. Dropping the weight of the hips back toward our heels, opening the knees out toward the sides, and again, taking any of those arm positions. So the arms can be stretched out straight in front of you. If it's available, you can turn the palms to face together or even up toward the ceiling, getting a bit more stretch across through the lats along the sides of the back. If you want to give your shoulders a bit of a rest, again, you can bend those elbows, bringing the hands under the forehead, or circle the arms down by your sides in that resting child's pose position. As you exhale, can you feel the hips release and get a little bit closer toward the heels? Nice, easy breathing in this position. Taking this moment just to settle into this position, get those hips releasing. Take a few breaths. From here, pressing back out into your high plank. Stepping the right foot forward, up toward the front of the mat. The left foot follows. We'll inhale up to our halfway lift. Exhale, down we go. Take a slight bend through the knees. Reverse swan dive to come up. We're going to circle sweep, lifting up nice and tall. Stay standing here. As we exhale, draw the hands down through the center. Good. We're going to open out to the long side of our mat, taking warrior 2 here. So from this position, sweep the arms out to the side. We want our ankles at least as wide as our feet in this position. You're going to rotate your right foot forward. So turning the right foot forward, bending into that front right knee. In this position, our heels are lined up here. Our right foot is pointing to the short edge of our mat. Our left foot is pointing straight to the long edge of the mat, and the arms are stretching out to the side. So again, creating dynamic tension here. We could just hang out here, but with our arms, think about actively pressing your arms down toward the floor. Press those arms down. Good. Imagine you've got 2 discs underneath, 2 tables underneath of your palms, and you're pressing down against them. It's not going to let you move anywhere, but you're trying to create that tension again through the sides of the body. We're thinking about opening through that front hip. So that right hip, we're opening back. So if we were flat against the wall, the back of that right thigh would be flat against the wall. One more breath here. Inhale. As we exhale, float that front elbow down to the front thigh. Circle that left arm up and over. If it's available, turn that palm to face toward you. And lots of options in this position here. So we can hold in this position with that front elbow supported on the thigh. We can make this a little bit harder by just stretching that arm down, so it takes a bit more core stability in that position. Or we can take a bit more flexibility to come down, bringing that hand all the way down toward the floor. If you're familiar with the bind in this position, go ahead and do it. If not, maybe we'll save that for next week on the live stream, but if you're familiar with that, then go ahead and do that here. Good, so extended angle pose here. 2 more breaths. Inhale. Stay here as you exhale. One more time. Inhaling here. As you exhale, come on up back through warrior 2. Good. Stretch that front leg. Turn that right foot to face the long edge of the mat. Bring the hands onto the hips. Straddle forward fold. We're leading with the chest here. Send the hips back, and then we're bringing the hands down toward the floor. So we've already done some forward folds with the feet closer together. When we come into this straddle position and take that forward fold, you should feel that, you may feel that, more on your inner thigh, adductor muscles down the middle of the thigh, especially as you start taking your feet wider and wider. So if you want more stretch through those adductors, feel free to heel toe, heel toe, heel toe, shimmy those feet out a little bit wider. I'm going to leave my feet just where they were because we're going to get set up on that warrior two on the other side here. If it's available, you could walk the hands back between your feet and then just allow the head to relax down toward the floor again, trying to take tension out of the neck and through the tops of the shoulders. Good. One more breath here. Inhale. As you exhale, walk the hands back forward, bend the knees, bring the hands onto the thigh, just ragdoll up one vertebrae at a time. The head will be the last thing up, and then circling the shoulders down and back. Nice. Inhale, circle to lift. Stay in this straddle position. As we exhale, bring in the hands through the middle, and then sweep the arms back out to the side. We're doing that same thing, warrior two, on the other side. So turn the left foot to the short edge of the mat. We're bending into that left knee and keeping that right knee fully extended. So just like we did in that long lunge at the start of the class, our eyes can stay straight forward to wherever you're facing right now, or full position for warrior two. We can bring the eyes gazing down along those front left fingers here. And remember, you can modify this or make it more intense by changing the width of your stance. So if you want it less intense, you can heel toe, that right foot in, so you have a shallower stance. Or we can make it more challenging by widening that stance and deepening again. You could drop all the way down so that front left thigh is parallel to the floor, or find a happy space in between. The back of the shoulders, back of the hips, back of the thigh would all be in contact with the wall. If you had your back up against a wall right now, all of those points would be in contact with the wall. So we're not rotating here. Think of everything being square lined up, and the pinky edge of both feet is in contact with the floor here as well. So we're not, again, allowing that knee to rotate forward. Think about opening from that hip. Pinky edge of that left foot is in contact with the floor. And same thing, finding length along the outside of that back ankle. One more breath here. Inhale. As you exhale, drop that elbow down, circling that right arm up and over. Turning that palm to face you if it's available. Option one, that elbow stays supported on the thigh. Option two, go ahead and extend that arm down. Option three, if you want to sink a little bit deeper into it, taking a bit more flexibility, dropping down there. Option four, if you wanted, you can work on the butt. The eyes again can stay focused straight forward ahead, or turn that chin up toward that top shoulder. And again, we're thinking about everything staying stacked on top of each other. So that top shoulder is stacked over top of that bottom shoulder. The top hip is stacked over the bottom hip. So we're not rotating forward again here. Think about opening up, pulling that left hip under and shoulder under, pulling that right hip and shoulder back over top. One more breath here. Inhale. As you exhale, coming up out of there, straightening that front knee, turning both feet so they're facing the long edge of the mat again, bringing the hands to the hips, lead with the chest, straddle, forward fold. From here, the hands work their way down toward the floor. Now this time, let's try and take the feet a little bit wider. So can you heel toe, shimmy your feet out just a little bit wider? Can you walk your hands back between your feet, or even past your feet? Keep breathing into this position. And like I said before, as you take your feet wider and wider, you're going to feel that more through those adductor inner thigh muscles. Breathing into this position. One more breath here. Inhale. As you exhale, walk the hands back forward. Heel toe, shimmy the feet in towards the center so they're in line with your sitting bones. Allow yourself to drop forward here. Ragdoll up one vertebrae at a time. The head will be the last thing up. Curve, getting that nice stretch through the spine as we come up. And then circling the shoulders down and back. Nice. Let's step forward up toward the front of our mat. We'll inhale, circle to lift. As we exhale, just bring the arms down by your sides, bending through those knees, sinking into chair pose or a narrow squat position. I'll come back this way again. So traditionally in yoga, chair pose, the feet would be right together here. If you prefer to take more of a narrow squat position, that's fine here as well. We're finding the weight in the midfoot to back of the foot. So the heels are glued toward the floor. Try not to let the heels pop up off of the floor. The heels are glued and the spine is in a nice neutral position. So we're avoiding really hyperextending through the spine, and we're avoiding rounding through the back and tucking the pelvis under here. So trying to find that nice straight back position. The hands can be on the thighs for support. Option 1. Option 2, we can reach the palms out straight in front of us. Option 3, the arms come up onto the diagonal so they follow the line of the torso. More challenging as the arms come up higher and higher. And again, try and find that space between the ears and your shoulders so that we're not tensing up through our traps. Our body's always trying to take the path of least resistance, but these are not going to help these in this situation. Slide the shoulders back down away from the ears. Brace through the abdomen like someone's going to punch you in the stomach. Connect the ribs to the hips. 2 more breaths here. Inhale. Stay here as you exhale or sink down a little bit lower. Yes, you can do it. Inhale. As we exhale, sink down so you've got somewhere to go. Circle sweep, lifting the arms up. Find a spot to focus the eyes. Leave your arms where they are. Slide the shoulders down away from the ears. So you're thinking about your shoulders pulling toward your back opposite hip pocket. The shoulder blade pulls down to the back opposite hip pocket on both sides, like a V against your rib cage. Press up onto your tiptoes in this position. Pressing up. Good. I just realized I've been looking at my computer, which is lower, so it's probably looked like I've got my eyes closed this whole time because I'm not looking at the camera. Circling the arms down onto our hips, lower that left heel down toward the floor, open the right knee out toward the side. Lift up from underneath of that left glute. Tree pose here. We're trying to keep the hips square to the front, so trying not to rotate away. We could leave the right toes in contact with the floor. We can pull the foot up onto the lower leg. Full tree pose, we can take hold of the ankle and bring it up onto the inner thigh. So from here. And then once you're set there, we can move the hands from the hips up to heart center. We can continue the hands up toward the ceiling here. And your choice if you want to leave the palms together or open the palms so that they're shoulder width apart, which I find a little bit easier to work on that V position for the shoulder blades and to try and keep my shoulders out of it. Breathing here, rooting that supporting leg down toward the ground. Keep lifting up from underneath of that left glute. 1 more breath here. Inhale. As you exhale, windmill the arms down, release that foot, sink back down into your chair pose, finding your weight equally distributed between your right and left feet. Choosing your arm position. Are the hands supported on your thigh, or reaching straight out front, or continuing up onto that diagonal? Your choice. The lower you go, the more challenging this is going to be. The more lifted you are, easier through those quadriceps on the front of your thigh. So again, find a level that you can maintain positioning, but is challenging for you. Things to check in this position, again, are the heels glued to the floor? And especially if you're taking more of that narrow squat as opposed to that more traditional chair pose where the feet are right together, are the knees stacked over top of the ankles? What we want to avoid is those knees dropping in toward each other. So again, think of rotating out from the hips, staying nice and strong here, and then keeping the knees lined up. Does it feel like you have equal weight between your right and left feet? Or does it feel like you're favoring one side more than the other, maybe because of a lack of mobility or an injury or something that you're dealing with? Only come down as low as you can where you've got equal weight distribution between each foot. What are those things called? You're like, we don't care. Let's just get out of this chair pose position. Inhale. Exhale. Is it available to sink 1 centimeter lower? Again, inhale here. Exhale, sink down so you've got somewhere to go. Circle sweep, lifting the arms up. Find that spot to focus your eyes. Slide the shoulders down away from the ears. If you extended through your spine when you inhaled, reconnect the ribs to the hips. Like someone's gonna punch you in the stomach. Brace through the abdomen. Press up onto your tiptoes here. Find your center balance. Good. Squeeze through those glutes. Circle the hands down. They come down onto the hips, dropping that right heel down toward the floor this time, opening the left knee out toward the side. Lift up from underneath of that right glute. Good. Choose your position for tree pose here. Root that right foot down toward the floor. Nice. Option to take that foot onto the lower leg. Option to take hold of the ankle, bringing that foot onto the inner thigh. Again, trying to keep the hips and shoulders square here, so we're not rotating around to that unsupported side. Keep lifting up from underneath of the right glute. If you'd like, the hands can come together heart center. If you'd like, the hands can come up toward the ceiling. Or we can take the hands shoulder width apart. Lots of options. Do what feels best for your body. Again, maintaining good position, but challenging for yourself. So think of like a puppet on a string here. How tall can you grow in this position? One more breath. Inhale. As you exhale, plant that foot down. Last set of chair pose, sinking down into the middle here, or that narrow squat. So again, you could have the option, more traditional yoga pose, to have those feet right together. Up to you. Choosing the arm position. Now from here, come halfway up. Sink down at least as low as you were. Equal weight on both feet. Come halfway up. Sink at least as low as you were. 2 more times. Lift. And lower. Nice job. Excellent work. Lift. And lower. Inhale. Circle sweep. Exhale. Swan dive. Flat back. Forward. Allow that head to relax down. Coming up to our halfway lift. Nice flat back position. If you're not oriented on your mat the right way, step forward to the proper position. Exhale, plant those hands on the ground, stepping 1 foot at a time back into our high plank position, pressing those palms into the floor, finding that width across the upper back. Coming into mountain climber pose, that right knee is pulling up toward the chest, and step it back. Other side, exhale. Inhale, step it back. Good. And back. And back, alternating side to side. Keep going here. Nice and slow and controlled tonight. 4 more reps. 4, and reach. 3, good. Exhale as that knee comes up. And last one here. Holding in your high plank. Take a deep breath in. Nice. Drop those knees down toward the floor. Pressing back into child's pose. Choosing your arm position here. Option 1, holding in child's pose. Option 2, if you'd like, working through the second half of that sun salutation, you can press out through your high plank, chaturanga, into your upward dog or cobra, and then back into your downward dog. Whichever position works best for you. Nice. Excellent job. Taking a couple more breaths in whichever position you're in. Again, filling the lungs all the way up, really focusing on that diaphragmatic breath. It's so good for the nervous system to breathe into those deeper lobes of the lungs. And then if you're in downward dog, just come back out into your high plank. We'll meet you there from child's pose in high plank. And then chaturanga, lowering down to the floor 1 more time. And then just release through the tops of the feet, and we're just going to stretch the arms forward here. Adjust yourself in your space if you need a bit more space here. So we're going to go into Superman exercise or swimming. Lots of different names. Low back exercise, depending on which type of class you've taken before. The palms are going to face together. It's an opposite arm and leg lift. So we'll start with the right arm lifting up off of the floor. The left leg is lifting up off of the floor. Lower those 2 points down, and then switch over to the other side and lower. So just alternating from side to side here. You can keep going with this. Option 1 is this movement pattern 2. Option 2 is more of a scissor pattern, as one side lifts up, the other side lifts down. And if you take that option, you can feel that there's more constant tension through the muscles in your back here, so it's a little bit more challenging. In this position, we want to avoid the temptation to lift the head up and look right forward. We're thinking about keeping length through the back of the neck and keeping those eyes focused down toward the floor. Good. Almost there. You can keep going with that movement pattern, or if you'd like, lift all 4 points up off of the ground. Draw that belly button up toward the spine, sliding those shoulders back away from the ears. Smile, make it look like you're having a good time. Aren't you glad there's not much to think about here? One more breath here. Inhale. As we exhale, lowering everything down toward the floor, pressing up onto all fours this time, bringing the hands under the shoulders, the knees come underneath of the hips. Excellent job. Tuck the chin down from one end, tuck the tailbone down from the other end, rounding up into a cat stretch here. So we'll tuck the chin under, tuck the tailbone under. We're curving through the spine, trying to increase the distance between the back sides of the vertebrae here. So the opposite position to what we were just in. That should feel nice through your spine in this position. On your next inhale, we're coming down through a neutral position. The eyes are going to look forward. We're going into slight extension and lengthening the tailbone up toward the ceiling. Notice we're not collapsing down here. So we still have integrity across the shoulders. We're just opening up through the front of the abdomen, and that tailbone and head are moving in the opposite direction. Let's move in tempo with our breath. So as we exhale, we're going to round up, tucking the tailbone under, tucking the chin under, vertebrae by vertebrae. And then as we inhale, articulating through the spine, one vertebrae at a time, moving the opposite direction. Good, keep going there. As we exhale, rounding up, tuck the chin down, tuck the tailbone under. Going back the other way, curving back. So really thinking about working through the spine here, articulating segment by segment, low back, mid back, upper back, and trying to feel that stretch through the spine as you do that. Just in tempo with your breathing. One more time. Exhale, curving up, curve, curve, curve. And then inhale, coming down into that slight extension here. And then just coming back into our neutral position. And we're going to come down onto our seats, swing your legs forward out in front of you, stretching the arms out in front, finding a nice tall position here. Now lead with the low back. It's like someone's punching you in the stomach here. Curving, curving, curving all the way down, one vertebrae at a time. The head is going to be the last thing down. Try and control it all the way through, even through that sticking point. Try not to collapse down toward the floor. And then once you're down, you can just adjust yourself on your mat so you're in a good position here. The arms can be down by our sides, fingers across your chest, or fingers back behind the ears. Just going into a crunch from fitness or ab prep from Pilates, it's the same thing. In this position, we're going to inhale. As we exhale, we're curling up, curving up off of the floor. Thinking about pulling the ribs and hips toward each other here in this position. Inhale to lower back down. Exhale, we squeeze up. Inhale, lowering down. Exhale, curve. So for these exercises, we're thinking ribs to hips. Inhale, release. Exhale, curving up. If the fingers are back behind the ears, keep going in tempo with your breathing. If the fingers are behind your ears, they're nice and light and the elbows are staying open. So we're trying to avoid pulling on our head forward this way. If you give yourself a little test here, you could bring your fist between your chin and your chest, and that should stay neutral, should stay the same throughout this range of motion. A couple more repetitions here as we exhale, curving up. As we inhale, lowering back. One more time. Exhale, curve. And then inhale, releasing back. Now take it up to the top and hold. Hold at the top here. We're going to move into an oblique rotation. So from here, we're turning that left rib cage toward the right hip. Inhale, come back through that perfect center crunch position. Rotate to the other side. Exhale, cross. Inhale, come back through the center. Exhale, rotate. Inhale, perfect center crunch, ideally not lowering down to the floor. Cross to the other side. And center. Exhale, rotate. And center. Other side. Cross. And center. Now hold in the middle here. Could you squeeze up 1 centimeter further? This is where I want you between each repetition. Think rib to hip. Left rib cage toward the right hip. Rotate rib to hip. And come back to the center. Perfect center crunch. Other side. Cross. And perfect center crunch. One more each way. Rotate rib to hip. Turn. And center. Last one. Turn. And center. Come back to the middle here. Stretch your arms out down by your sides. Could you squeeze up with your arms down by your sides 1 centimeter more, reaching those fingers right toward your heels? Pull that belly button down nice and flat. If we're working properly, you should be feeling, even though that was only 10 repetitions there, you should be feeling that through the abdomen. And releasing back. Big good morning stretch. We can lengthen the hands back behind the head, reaching the feet out along the floor, taking a couple of big deep breaths in. Inhale. Fill the lungs all the way up. We can allow the back to release off of the floor here. As we exhale, stay where you are. Good, do that again. Inhale, big deep breath in. And as we exhale, circling those arms down by the sides, bending the knees up, we're pressing up into a bridge position here. So the knees are bent with the feet flat on the floor. Drive those feet into the floor. As you press the feet down, feel those hips get nice and light. They lift up toward the ceiling. The arms can be down by our sides. With the arms down by the sides, pinky edge of the hand in contact with the floor here. So we're not pressing the hands down, pinky edge of the hand in contact with the floor. If you wanted smaller base of support, you could lift the arms up overhead here, drive those feet down, squeeze those glutes. The glutes are the prime mover here that we want to use to keep those hips up off of the floor. If they're not involved, we might find the back arching. We might feel pain in the back. We might feel a lot of discomfort in the hamstrings. So think about scooping the hips up underneath of you, driving those hips up toward the ceiling. And if you're comfortable here, there's options to add some arms in here. So if you'd like, you could drop one arm at a time back behind that head as the other one comes down by your side. So kind of like a scissor pattern, alternating from side to side here. But we don't want to be doing that if we can't feel this through the glutes. So if this makes you kind of move all over the place and takes out some of the tension through the seat, then just come back with the arms straight up above the head or down by the sides. Squeeze through the seat. As the arms are moving, we're trying not to let the rib cage move. So that's the challenge for the body, is trying to keep stationary position, that nice static contraction through the torso as the arms are doing something else. Very functional for everyday life, right? We're moving around, the arms and legs are doing things, and we want to maintain that core stability. Good. If you're moving your arms, bring them back up to the center. Drive those feet down, drive the hips up. One final breath. Inhale. Exhale, releasing down, hugging those knees up toward the chest. You can give yourself a nice little rock and roll from side to side here. Releasing through the back, getting a bit of stretch through the seat here. Hamstrings are working too, so low back, glutes, hamstrings, posterior chain, all working there. Now let's just hug that right knee in toward the chest, drop the left foot down toward the floor. If it feels more comfortable, that left knee can stay bent. If it feels okay through the back, you might get a better stretch if you straighten that leg down along the floor, holding at the back of the right thigh here. From there, we're going to go ahead and stretch that right leg up toward the ceiling. And you can just leave the foot relaxed here to begin, focusing on that stretch through the hamstrings up the back of the thigh. Just breathing into our stretches, trying to be relaxed as possible, lifting that leg up as high as you can, keeping that knee straight. So I'd rather the leg be lower with the knee straight than up here with the knee really bent at this point. From here, inhale. As you exhale, flex that foot, pull the toes down toward the shin, or think about pressing that heel up toward the ceiling. Take a deep breath in. As you exhale, is it available to pull that leg up even a little bit higher? It shouldn't be shaking or painful at all, just breathing into that stretch. Nice job. One more breath, inhale. As you exhale, releasing that knee down, hug the left knee up toward the chest. Again, your choice. The right leg can be straight or bent, up to you. Hugging that knee in, and then when you're ready from there, stretch that left leg up as high as you can, keeping that knee fully straight. If you have a towel, if your leg isn't coming all the way up, if you have a towel or a stretch rope or even the belt from your robe or something, it will give you something to support the leg in this lower position. So if you're coming back next time, feel free to grab a stretch rope or a belt or something like that, or even a towel that you can wrap around your foot here. Good, so feeling that at the back of the thigh, and then inhale here. As you exhale, flexing through that ankle, actively pulling the top of the foot down toward the shin. And as you do that, you'll likely feel that more into the calf, maybe behind the knee a little bit more, maybe down toward the ankle, through the Achilles, depending on where you're tight. And again, just taking those slow, relaxing breaths, easing into this stretch. And if you feel the stretch start to dissipate at all, that's a good sign that your body is in a position, it's kind of released a little bit so that you can pull yourself a little bit deeper. So you could pull your leg up a little bit higher in that position. Take a deep breath in. As you exhale, is it available to pull up one little bit higher, and then bend that knee, releasing the foot down toward the floor. Just bend both knees up. We're going to bring both legs up into tabletop position there. So in tabletop position, the hips and knees are at 90 degrees here. Your arms can be down by your sides, across your chest, or fingers behind the ears. Inhale to prepare. We're going to exhale, come up into that crunch or ab prep position again. The torso is staying here this time. From here, we're going to stretch that right leg out away and then switch to the other side. So alternating from side to side, it's a variation of single leg stretch from Pilates. So more difficult with the fingers back behind the ears, a little bit easier with the arms down by your sides. If this is uncomfortable through the neck and the top of the shoulders, you can do the same thing with the back of the head in contact with the floor. To make this easier or more difficult, a little bit easier as we kick up higher toward the ceiling, more difficult as those legs come down a little bit lower toward the floor. What we want is that low back secure to the ground, so we're not arching the back up off of the floor here. Good, and we're exhaling as the leg goes out. Good, alternating side to side. You've got this. 4 more. Good. 3, 2, and 1. Nice job. Bring those legs back together. Stretch both feet up toward the ceiling. Bring your fingers up toward your calves. Walk your fingers up as high as you can. Good. Now lowering back down, opening the arms out. It's a T crunch. Exhale, we curve up into crunch position. Inhale, we lower back out into a T. Good. Exhale, crunch. Inhale, releasing back. Keep going. Exhale. Nice. Thanks everyone for coming out tonight. Hope you're having a good class. I hope to see you again. We're almost done. We're going to finish with a little bit of core work here. A couple more exercises to go. We'll do a couple more stretches. And then we have Shavasana, everyone's favorite part. Crunch up and hold this time. Holding in this position, take hold of the right leg, drop the left leg down, variation of scissors from Pilates. Stop just before that left foot hits the floor, and then switch to the other side. Alternating side to side. Good. Those fingers on that top leg are light. Again, if you don't like this through the neck or top of the shoulders, you could do this with the back of the head in contact with the floor, arms just down by the sides. Or you can maintain that crunch position, more challenging actually with the arms down by the sides here. Pull that belly button in toward the spine. Try and maintain that contact of the low back against the floor. So we're not allowing the back to pop up off of the ground. Good. 4 more. 3. Yes, almost there. 2. And last one. Good. Bring the legs up together. Bring the hands up to the calves if you're not already there. Walk the fingers up as high as you can toward your ankles. Can you leave your torso in this position as you let go of the hands? Nice. Take a deep breath in. And exhale, open those arms back out into a T. Drop the knees down, bring the feet to the floor. Just drop the knees over to the left side of the mat. Turn the head to look back over the right shoulder. Rotation stretch here. That should feel nice through the spine at this point. So breathing right into the sides of the rib cage here. Inhale, filling the lungs all the way up. Think about the ribs opening. And then as you exhale, the ribs close together. You can leave that top knee bent, or if it's available, you can actually stretch that top leg out in front of you as well, which may give a bit more leverage to get some more rotation, feel a bit more stretch into the low back. You might feel that along the outside of the hip there as well. One more breath here, inhale. And then as we exhale, coming up through the center, taking the legs off the other side. So dropping the knees off to the right this time. The head can turn and look back over the left shoulder. And again, your choice, those knees can stay bent, or if you'd like, go ahead and stretch that top leg out. So we're trying to take the legs over as far as we can, keeping both shoulders in contact with the floor here. Breathing right into the sides of the ribs. Almost there. Good. And then from there, bending that knee in, bringing the legs up toward the center, and then just hugging the knees up one more time. Little rock and roll from side to side here. Nice. And holding in the center, bringing that left leg down toward the floor. Figure 4 stretch for the hips. We're just going to cross that right ankle over the left knee And then reaching through the legs, pulling that left thigh up toward the chest. And we're thinking about rotating through the hips here. So pressing that right knee away from you. The key to getting a good stretch here is trying to get that rotation through the hips. So use that right hand to press the knee away, or using that right elbow to press the knee away. If I'm back here and that knee is pointing up toward my shoulders, I'm not getting a great stretch through that hip. So I want to press that knee, get that rotation through there. Sometimes you might even find it a little bit more effective if you leave the left foot on the ground and then just work on the rotation there. So again, play around with the positions, see what works best for you here. One more breath here, inhale. As you exhale, lowering the left leg down, just cross over to the other side. The right foot comes down onto the floor. Lift that left leg up and over. That left ankle is crossing over the right knee. Good. You can use that left hand to press away. That might even give you enough stretch here. Or if you want to deepen that, pulling that right knee up towards the chest here, we can interlock our fingers behind that right thigh and then use the left elbow to press that left knee away, or use that left hand. Good. Nice, easy breathing into this position here. A little hip release just before we finish off here. And releasing the feet down, taking one more big good morning stretch, lengthening the hands back behind the head. Allow that back to arch up off of the floor, reaching as long as you can from your fingertips down to your toes. Stretch, stretch, stretch. Inhale, fill the lungs all the way up. Stay here as you exhale. One more time, inhale here. And as you exhale, circle your arms down by your sides. We're just finishing off with Shavasana here, turning the palms up toward the ceiling if it's available. And we can open the feet out toward the corners of our mat, just allowing the hips to release and drop open so the toes are turning outward here. You also have the option, if you'd like, especially if this pulls into the low back at all, it might feel more comfortable to bend the knees up and maybe even take the feet out toward the edges of your mat and allow those knees just to relax and drop in together. So again, find a position that works well for you here. I'm going to take my legs out. And Shavasana, if you haven't done Shavasana before, this is just our final resting pose. And really what we're trying to do is just calm the nervous system all the way down. Just trying to give ourselves some space and some peace here in this position, focusing on our breath, and then trying to release the muscles in our body, trying to take tension out of our body, starting right from the forehead. So just softening across the top of the forehead. Can you soften across your eyebrows? If you tend to clench into your jaw, it usually helps with that if you just allow your mouth to open slightly to help release the muscles around the jaw. And then you're just trying to clear your mind and feel your body sinking nice and heavy down into the mat. And if you find your mind is busy, bringing attention back onto your breath. So usually very helpful if you want to focus on counting your breath nice and rhythmically. So big inhale for 4 seconds. And then exhaling out for a count of 4. Continuing in that breathing pattern. And you might find if it's available, you could actually extend your exhale. So your exhalation even takes maybe 6 seconds, longer than your inhalation. Or you could try square breathing or box breathing where you inhale for 4 seconds, for example. Pause for 4 seconds. And then exhale for 4 seconds. And hold for another 4 seconds at the end of your exhalation. So thinking about breathing in a square pattern. With your exhalation, can you feel your body sinking a little bit more heavily down into the mat? Good, and from here, we'll just circle the wrists and ankles or wiggle the fingers and toes, bringing some movement back into our body. Bending the knees up so the feet come onto the floor if we're not already there. On your next inhale, just reaching that right arm back behind your head. As you exhale, rolling over onto that side, drawing the knees up toward the chest here, taking a couple of breaths in your side lying position. And on your next exhale, using that front arm to press up into a seated position, crossing the legs in front, sitting up nice and tall, lifting up out of the low back. We're going to inhale, circling the arms up, reaching overhead. As we exhale, drawing the hands down through the center. Thank you so much for joining me tonight. I will see you again next Monday, every Monday through July and August, with the exception of August long weekend. And I hope to see you again. Thank you for coming. Namaste. Good job.